Now that all the data is well styled, I can compose the map deliverable. Here I have QGIS Desktop open as I left it at the end of Task 1, and from the menu bar I'll choose Project, New Print Composer. I'll name the composer Lab 5, Baltimore Diabetes, and click OK. The Print Composer opens, and this is where I'll craft my map. The Print Composer is an application window with many tools that allow you to craft a map. The main window of the Print Composer displays the piece of paper upon which the map will be designed. There are buttons along the left side of the window that allow you to add various map elements, such as the map, a scale bar, a photo, text, shapes, attribute tables, etc. Each item added to the map canvas becomes a graphic object that can be further manipulated once selected by using the Items Properties tab. Across the top are buttons for exporting the composition, navigating within the composition. For example, I can use the Zoom Full to zoom to the full extent of my piece of paper, and some other graphic tools, grouping, ungrouping, etc. On the Composition tab, I can specify details about the overall composition. QGIS is Eurocentric, so I'll have to set presets to ANSI A letter to get a letter size sheet of paper. Next, I'll make sure the orientation is set to portrait and the export resolution is 300 dots per inch. Now that I've changed my orientation, I'll click the Zoom Full button to see my whole sheet of paper, and I'll click the Add New Map button and drag a box in the sheet of paper where the map will go. I'll cover the entire sheet with the map, leaving just a small margin. The map object can be resized after it's added by selecting and using the handles around the perimeter to resize it. With the map selected, I'll select the Item Properties tab and click the Set to Map Canvas Extent button. That'll help orient the map on the sheet of paper as it appears in QGIS Desktop. Under Main Properties, I'll set the scale to 100,000 and then click the Update Preview button. I can also use the Move Item Content tool to pan the map in the Print Composer, and this can help me center the map. Now I'll add a title. I'll click on the Add New Label button and drag a box across the top of the composition. On the Item Properties tab, I'll type my title, Food Deserts and Diabetes in Baltimore City. Next, I'll click the Font button and set the font to Times New Roman. With a size of 36 and a font style of bold. And I'll click OK to accept these changes. You may need to resize the text box after these font settings have been made so that the entire title can be seen. Under Appearance, I'll set a horizontal alignment of center. Next, I'll add a legend using the Add New Legend button. I'll drag a box in this empty area south of the western portion of the city to add the legend to my composition. There are several layers that are only being used for cartographic purposes and do not need to be in the legend. Legends are really for data layers that are non-intuitive or require more explanation. I'll remove these unnecessary legend entries. To do this, I'll visit the Item Properties tab, and note that the contents of the Item Properties tab change depending on which graphic object is chosen. I'll uncheck Auto Update, and now the buttons below the Legend Items portion of the Items Property tab are available. I don't need the copy of the Baltimore City boundary layer in the legend. I'll select it and remove it. I'll also select and remove the Maryland County Boundaries copy representing the Chesapeake Bay and the Maryland County Boundaries layer. That's a good start, but the legend still needs some editing. Layers come in QGIS with the file name as the layer name. As you learned in Lab 2, you can rename these in QGIS Desktop by going to the Layer Properties General tab and renaming the layer. However, you can also edit these names in the legend. Here I'll select the Dialysis Center's .shape legend entry and click on the Edit button. I'll take out the underscore and the .shp to make it an English readable layer name and click OK. And you'll see that change in the legend. Next, I'll rename the food desert layer to simply food deserts and click OK. I'll also edit the name for neighborhood diabetes to diabetes morbidity by neighborhood. I'll give the legend box a frame by clicking the box on the Item Properties tab next to Frame. Now I'll enter some descriptive text that tells the map reader where the data was obtained, who the cartographer was, and the date created. This will be done using the same tool I used to add the title. I'm going to slide the legend up just a bit and click on Add Label and drag a box below the legend for my informational text. I've copied and pasted this, and I'll just put in my name and today's date. I'll click the Font button and set the font to a size of 8. Click OK. And I'll drag this text element so that it lines up with the left side of the legend. You'll see the red line appear when it's lined up with that legend object. With an element selected, I can also use arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge objects. Finally, I'll give the map a border. I'll select the map element by clicking on it, and on the Item Properties tab, I'll click the box next to Frame. I'll expand the frame sec, and I'll set the thickness to 1 millimeter. Finally, I'll adjust this so that it's symmetrical on both sides, top and bottom. And my map is complete. In the final task, you'll learn how to export the map.